Hey guys, Soph here. I'm back with another video today. It might be 3 in the morning, but I thought there's something that I really want to talk about. And I think it relates to a lot of people who play WoW right now, or are doing keys maybe right now in pre-patch, or in Season 4, or even just coming up into Shadowlands. Now, we all do this. We all pug keys. We all go in like Group Finder and try and find a key. Maybe for score, maybe we're just trying to enjoy ourselves, maybe we're doing it with friends. And so this video is going to be talking about the healer that I think is the best for pugging keys. Now, I am a 6k multi-class healer. I have my Resto druids on her way to 6k. My priest is 4.3 now. My paladin and my monk are between, I don't know, around the 4k mark. So all of my keys that I've done in pre-patch have been pugged. All my high keys on my shaman have been pugged, maybe give or take a couple. My druid's keys have pugged, priest. Honestly, all I do most of the day is just pug keys. I do it on stream, I do it with friends, I do it with my guildie, sometimes I'm just bored. And so I'm just going to go into a little bit of detail about how I think each healer functions in a group. Because a lot of these keys in pre-patch I've been doing have been anywhere between 21s to 29s in pugs, and a lot of them don't use Discord. Now, for keys like Shrine, Motherlode, King's Rest, just, I don't know, just to name a few, all these dungeons have so many things that you have to kick, right? There's like the volleys, you've got the heals, you've got ice spritzers, you've got, like, you name it, you have to kick it. And without Discord, as a healer, you don't have a whole lot in terms of controlling these mobs. Now, I have to give some credit to classes like Mistweaver, which have Ring of Peace, you've got Leg Sweep, you've got Paralysis, which are really great tools to deal with stuff that's not getting kicked. So you can Leg Sweep it, you can ring it, you can para it, which gives you some form of control, but you don't have a kick. So like every minute-ish, you have like utility to deal with things that aren't getting kicked. Like, for instance, Paladin has Blinding Light. You've got, some people run Repentance. I can't think of what your single target stun is right now, but you have that too. For Shaman is kind of weaker. You've got your Hex, you've got your Cap Totem. Earthbind is some form. It's not a stun, but it is like a slow, so it helps your tank kite. Druid, you've got Vortex if you're spec'd into Boomy Affinity, you've got Typhoon, you can have Mighty Bash, and you have the potential to have your Feral Stun. Is it Maim? I'm not sure what it's called. I don't know all of these off the top of my head, I'll be honest. Which all of these things help you control the mobs for your tank or for your team. But there is only one class that has a kick, and that's Resto Shaman. Now, some people will kind of sleep on the kick, but when you have Cap Totem, you've got Earth Ellie, you've got Earth Bind Totem, you've got, incredibly powerful healing CDs like SLT, Ascendance, Healing Tide. You have Lust. I have to kind of talk about Resto Shaman being quite a good pug healer. You may not get invited, per se, because a lot of people tend to want a Resto Druid, which is just unfortunate. But I'm going to talk about the pros of playing Resto Shaman when you're pugging keys. Now, this here is a Pug 26 Motherlode. We had no Discord. We went on to do a 27 freehold without Discord right after this. So this is kind of a perfect example. Like right here, Toxic Blades didn't get kicked, but I stunned it. I think we nailed the other kicks. Here's Hole of Fletchers going off. It got stunned, but the Toxic Blades on the tank. There's just certain things that being a Resto Shaman is just super nice. Now, you have a lot of lust control, especially if you're not running like a mage, or you're not running a hunter or like another shaman. The fact that you bring lust to a key is also super important. And I like being in control of lust timers, because some pug groups have some super weird lusts. Like, honestly, they'll lust like 3 mobs, and I'll be thinking to myself, that makes no sense. Or like they'll do some weird motherload route where they won't, like, they're not going to go to the boss, right? They're just going to start pulling slowly, and we won't lust the first pull and then pull other trash and then go to boss. Or, you know, for instance, there's just certain things. And being in control of lust as a shaman, I think is quite important, and I value it quite highly. So the fact that you're in control of lust, you have Earth Ellie, so if your tank dies, it's a pretty good utility to use. You know, just say if you're waiting for your tank to get back, or even if your tank's getting slammed. It is on quite a long CD, so that is not ideal. But other than that, I would say that that's also quite a good strong point that it has. But then you have to compare it to Resto Druid. Now, Resto Druid, you're more likely to get invited to a key because you have a B-res, which is incredibly important. You have Soothe. Again, Shaman doesn't have Soothe. You have Vortex is extremely powerful for tank hiding. You don't have an AoE stun. If you're expecting to boom your affinity, yep, you have your knockback. That's also super nice for helping, you know, your tank kite. So I would say, like, Resto Druid and Resto Shaman are probably your best bet if you're going to be pugging a lot of keys. The classes that I find a little bit harder, Disc Priest is also kind of nasty to pug. I've noticed since I've started pugging a lot of like 24s, 25s during pre-patch, that people stand in everything. People will just take damage for no reason, other than, oh, I haven't taken damage in 5 minutes, let me stand in the swirly and see if I die. And as a Disc Priest, you really excel when your group has really good communication. When your group is working together and, like, you can do so much damage, and that's so important. You don't have to be spamming your Shadow Man, spamming your shields. Like, you can pump the damage. And to me, that's pretty pog. There's no other way to put it. And you just kind of are just almost like a 4th DPS when your group is good as a Disc Priest. But when you're pugging, I'm going to tell you right now, kicks are going to go off, stuff's not going to get stunned, people are going to stand in every mechanic under the sun, they're going to put on hard mode for most of the bosses, because they're probably not going to kick the bombs in on the first boss, they're not going to kite the dot on the second boss of Motherload. There's just all kinds of things that pug DPS don't seem to think about. And I'm not saying that all are bad. I have had some incredible pug DPS, but the majority are, I don't know, kind of, you know, focused on their damage rotation and don't tend to have such good awareness of, you know, like things on the ground or stuff that needs to get kicked or standing in front of a cleave. And I think Disc Priest struggles a lot because then you kind of have to start spamming Shadow Mend. Then you have to use Rapture, kind of like a panic Rapture because your group's just taking all this damage instead of like planning out when you want to use it. It just is not one of my favorite specs to pug. It does feel the best when I have a good group, in my opinion. But pugging as a Disc Priest, you're going to go because you're going to be spamming abilities that you shouldn't have to spam to heal people through things that you shouldn't have to heal. So, to me, that's probably one of the weakest links in terms of pugging. Holy Priest, I've played a little bit of Holy Priest. I have some videos up pugging keys on my Holy Priest. Holy Priest throughput feels kind of good right now, and not nearly as punishing as Disc, because it has a lot of AoE healing. You've got Circle of Healing, you've got your, I think it's Prayer of Healing, you've got your Divine Hymn or Symbol of Hope. I don't play Holy Priest that much, as you can tell, but you have a lot of AoE healing. You lack a bit of tank healing, but in terms of pugging, most of the time, your group is just taking mad damage, and Holy Priest can handle that like constant heavy AoE healing so well. So I think Holy Priest, in my eyes, is a little bit better than Disc, just because of the sheer amount of damage that people will take. Like, it will quite literally blow your mind. In this key, it's a 26, so you probably won't notice it as much. But if you ever watch any of my VODs and you watch me doing like a 21, people just stand in everything. They'll overlap with quaking, they'll give you crazy bursting stacks, they'll stand in every cleave possible in temple. So I would choose Holy Priest over Disc if you are pugging majority of your keys. If you're very exceptional at Disc and you don't mind spamming Shadowmend occasionally, then totally go for Disc, because I'm an avid Disc player. I love my Disc Priest, and I would prefer to play Disc over Holy. But unfortunately, in terms of pugging in BFA, I'm not sure about Shadowlands pugging. That'll be a little bit of a different story, but I would say Holy Priest is a little bit, you have a bit more leeway. Then we're going to talk about Mistweaver. Now, Mistweaver, in my eyes, Mistweaver pumps. Like, I have pretty good experiences with Mistweaver because your heals just do so much. Like an Enveloping Mist, Soothing Mist, Vivify, like with Renewing Mist, is like an instant heal. And if your group is just taking crazy AoE, you can pretty much top someone with little energy. And you can keep Essence Font out. You can keep your Renewing Mists out, and then with the Rising Mist build, you can just keep I think it's Sunrise Kick that extends your hots. But like, you can keep things on your group to, I don't know, protect them from that incoming damage. And if you have like a few Renewing Mists out and you Vivify, you're doing quite decent AoE healing. So to me, that feels a little bit less punishing if your group is just kind of standing in, you know, everything possible. So I would say that Mistweaver is a good pick. If you enjoy Mistweaver, then obviously you're going to pick it. But I think that Mistweaver is also pretty forgiving in terms of pug healing. And then we have Holy Paladin. Now, Holy Paladin right now is incredibly fun, which is going to change in a week because Light's Decree won't be a thing next week. But the fact that you can keep your Glimmer on all your targets. Glimmer is nerfed now, so that's kind of a sad day. But also, I feel like you also kind of pump with your AoE healing with your Holy Shocks and keeping Glimmer on people. You can kind of top people up constantly with little like effort. Maybe not full heal, like a Healing Surge or like a, you know, like a I don't know, like a Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, Vivify would kind of do. But you can keep your group kind of ticking along. So if they're just taking random AoE damage that's not a one-shot, you know, if you have a Holy Shock, like you Holy Shock them and they have Glimmer, you know, you can just kind of passively heal them. So it just kind of keeps their HP ticking up even if they're taking damage. If they're taking things that are almost a one-shot, Holy Paladin is not so great, because then you kind of get stuck into Light of the Martyr, Flash of Light kind of spam, and that's not so great on your mana. But if they're just taking kind of, I don't know, half their HP, a quarter of their HP, it's actually not so bad. But again, it doesn't really have any like, oh shit things. Like, you have Avenging Wrath, and when your Wings is up, I feel like no one can die. When you have AM up, I feel like no one can die. But like, if your group is really on the verge of dying, there's nothing better than SLT or Tranquility. Like, to me, Revival's kind of weak, but SLT and Tranquility are quite strong in my eyes. Like, right here, that entire Hail of Blades or whatever it's called just went off. And I managed to keep people alive in a 26. If that was, you know, maybe on my Paladin or maybe on like my Disc Priest, if I didn't have Barrier or Rapture, that could have been a really scary pull. But this video is kind of going to be aimed at people who are just thinking of healing, you know, fun 15s, maybe 20s during Shadowlands. Like, obviously keys will be scaled differently than they are right now. So people, 20s might be much more difficult than I'm talking about right now. But if you're just thinking about doing kind of average keys, I guess that's kind of the terms that I'm talking about, these specs. And so in my eyes, I don't want to rank them because people tend to get kind of offended when you rank your rank their class. But I'm gonna give you my top 3 pug healers right now. This is subject to change with covenants and legendaries and soulbinds and conduits. But in terms of just basic thoughts, right now I would say if I was to heal some kind of, I don't know, middle range keys with a bunch of people I didn't know that kind of had not a whole lot of maybe experience in those range keys, or maybe they're on like ults, which they don't play a whole lot, I would probably say I would feel most comfortable playing a Mistweaver or a Resto druid or even a Resto shaman. Obviously, my pick for who I would think is the best pug healer would have to go to Resto shaman. The fact you have a kick, the fact you have lust, the fact you have your elemental, you've got cap totem, you've got earthbind, you can help your tank kite, you can stun ads, you can have your elemental tank ads, you have lust, you can kick things. Because man, I'm telling you right now, as I said earlier, people don't tend to kick things in pugs. And the fact that you have a short kick is so incredibly important. And it makes a huge difference when you're pugging keys. Also the fact that your biggest healing CDs are so impactful. Like SLT is crazy. Like if your group is just like standing in everything, like, or let's say maybe you're in temple and you've got these poisons on everyone, or there's all these dots going out. SLT helps you keep your group alive while you're spam casting chain heal. You've got your cloud burst out, you've got your healing tide out. So I think, sorry, my tongue just rumbled. I think that if you're looking for a class that just is kind of a really decent all-rounder, especially right now in Shadowlands, Resto Shaman is shaping up quite well. Its throughput is quite good right now. It could get nerfed, but at this stage, its throughput is quite good, and you have all the things that you would want, other than a B-res. Resto Shaman is looking like a decent option if you're kind of thinking about maybe having a fun healer ult that you might end up pugging keys with. I would say Resto Druid's also up there. You're more likely to get invited if you play a Resto Druid. But again, having Vortex, having Typhoon, having Tranquility again is another fantastic CD. Iron Bark is fantastic because Resto Shaman lacks DR, but Iron Bark is such a good CD for for just to help with your tank the mobs essentially. And also as a Resto Shaman, you have your Astral Shift every 1.5 minutes, but for Resto Druid, you've got your Bear Form, you've got your, I don't know I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, but you have your own Iron Bark, essentially. And the fact that you can keep Hots out on all your group also helps with, your group taking random incoming damage, which Resto Shaman, you can keep your Riptides out, but you still have to cast your Healing Surge, your Chain Heal. Whereas Druid, you're going to have your Effalo down. You're probably going to have, your Rejuice, your Life Bloom on yourself. You have Swift Mend as your oh shit heal. And your Wild Growth, which I think also gives it such a good toolkit for, pugging keys. And it also does decently good damage. Same with Resto Shaman. If you enjoy doing DPS as a healer, both Resto Druid and Resto Shaman are incredibly powerful at doing damage while also doing a lot of healing. But yeah, I don't want to say that disc, you can't play disc and Holy Paladin in keys, because that's totally not what I'm trying to tell you. I'm just saying I've done a lot of pugging, and the easiest classes for people to pick up on is I don't know, I think my recording broke at this point. But I'll leave it here anyway. But yeah, I just want to say, if you are interested in maybe trying to heal, and you're kind of oh, I don't know what to play, I don't know what, what's friendly to pick up and what is good. Honestly, play whatever you love. If you love Disc or you love Holy Paladin, I wouldn't ever say pick something that's better for pugging over, the class that you love. But I do think if you are, wanting to be able to deal with a lot of things that get thrown at you in the middle of your pugs, Resto Shaman, Mistweaver, Resto Druid are so kind to play. They're just a kind class to you. They're low stress and they can kind of deal with those situations really well. And I know I am a main Resto Shaman, and so I'm kind of talking up my own class, but I want more people to play Resto Shaman. I think it's really underrepresented, and people are kind of afraid to invite Resto Shamans, and I'm kind of trying to shed the light that they are so good. It's just the fact that we don't have a B-res. We do have a lack of DR, which again is not, you know, ideal, but also I kind of want to just say that any healer should be able to be bought to any pug key. People always look at the, you know, the KSM meta, the MDI meta, and they go, well, I don't really want anything that's not that meta for kind of like middle level keys. And I kind of want us to get to the point where it doesn't matter what healer you're playing. Like, you should be able to get invited to keys, because they all have their strengths, they all have their weaknesses. But like, I still believe that you should be able to play what you love. And if you are looking for something that is kind to you, and you won't have major stress when you're pugging keys, then obviously what I have said earlier about Resto Shaman, Resto Druid, and Mistweaver, they're looking decently good to deal with the situations that you might get yourself into while pugging keys. But that's all I have to say, and I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely time pugging keys in Shadowlands. I'd love to know what you play and what you think, because I think I probably would have offended people by saying that Disc isn't super fun to play in pugs, but I am a Disc Priest main, other than the fact I play Shaman, and I just want to say, I've had some nightmare keys where I'm spamming Shadow Mend. I did a 25 KR last week, and whew, it was hard. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the day or night wherever it is you are. I couldn't have mumbled more on my way out. Good night.